Remember that spat that Poland had with Israel over the term Polish death camps? I do. I remember Israel being very adamant about calling concentration camps in Poland Polish death camps. And I remember Israel arguing that the reason why the Nazis were able to kill so many Jews was because the Poles were just so anti-Semitic. They hated the Jews so much so that they collaborated with the Nazis and helped the Nazis kill millions of Jews in Poland. They loved Hitler so much because they were so anti-Semitic. This was Israel's argument. And then when you actually look at the data, you find out that Poland as a nation rescued more Jews than any other nation in Europe during the Holocaust. This is a fact that even Yad Vashem affirms. I've never once heard Israel use the term Azeri death camps. Never once heard Israel speak of the Azeri Nazis who helped the Germans butcher tens of thousands of people, specifically in the Wola massacre, in which between 40,000 and 50,000 Polish civilians were murdered by the Germans and their Azeri collaborators. Never heard Israel ever make this connection. Never heard Israel ever bring up Azerbaijan when speaking of the Holocaust. Amazingly, there were Azeri Nazis in Poland during the Holocaust, butchering thousands of Polish civilians in order to help their Nazi allies. And these were Azeris who were members of the SS. Imagine being a Polish villager, okay, and you hear a bunch of Nazis around you speaking Turkish, wanting to murder you. That's insane. But I've never once heard Israel make the Azeri connection when speaking of the Holocaust. I've heard of Israel condemning Poland. I've heard of Israel antagonizing Poland for no reason. But never once heard Israel speak of Azeri Nazis. I wonder why that is. Oh, I know why. It's because Israel has quite a strong business relationship with Azerbaijan. Israel sells its weapons to Azerbaijan, and Israel supports Azerbaijan's war against Armenia. Amazingly enough, the Armenians were butchered. Over 1 million Armenians were butchered by the Turks during the First World War. And Azerbaijan's biggest ally is Turkey. And who does Israel support? Not the Armenians. Not the Armenians who were butchered in a genocide that inspired the Nazis. No. Israel supports the other side. Israel supports Azerbaijan. And that's the reason why Israel would rather attack the nation that helped the Jews more than anyone else and support the country that actually, in the past, butchered thousands of civilians in the Holocaust. That is what I call bullshit. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.